Back in the ring, I'm going to go through my Kane collection. Collection with a K. Okay. I'm going to show all the figures I have that kind of represent my little history timeline of Kane's career. Kane was always one of my favorite wrestlers, so I just started getting more figures of him. Kind of turned into a career highlights. This isn't every Kane figure ever, so I'm just going to go through and explain why I got what I got for my little collection. First of all, Kane's first debut costume. I remember when this was brand new, I definitely pre-ordered it right away because I was like, here is the Mattel version of the Kane that I always liked and first saw when he was debuting. And this figure fetches quite the high price these days, I guess. So he does have his voice box, his Buzzy. He's got his Buzzy. They used to say he couldn't talk because of the fire, so you have to put it up to his neck and kind of, I will kill you. That's a fun little accessory. I usually don't put it in his hand because it kind of stretches his hand. And then I always display mine with a WWF title, because even though it was only one Sunday he won it and lost it on the next Monday, he was still technically WWF champion in the Attitude Era. Definitely the start of my kind of past or classic attires of Kane, because I always had the modern figures at the time. I was only collecting modern WWE. I have the flashback Kane. Little alternate attire, kind of video game style, just inverted colors on this one. But this is just a basic figure, so it doesn't have the extra articulation or anything. A lot of these are elite style. But just to have this attire in the Mattel form. But they did do a lot of detailing for the glove and things like that. So maybe missing a little molding with the arm area and the other arm cuff. But pretty spot on that way. And he is tall. And just did a video on this one, opening it up brand new. Just a basic one from debuting this attire at SummerSlam. He went with a tank top, got rid of the sleeves, kind of had some clear mesh. It's kind of his shrinking down his attire a bit there instead of the full body suit. It's a Kane catastrophe. Oh god. But I like to display this one with a hardcore championship because he did win that at WrestleMania in this attire. I like to give the titles that he had with these just to show kind of his championship history and everything also. Could probably get a tag team title belt for this attire of Kane, just showing the different titles he had in his different attires. You can have a Mattel one, or just this is a Jax one that I painted myself, which I think looks kind of better. Just saying. Another one I just recently added from Survivor Series 2001. It's kind of an attire he only wore once, but I kind of like the theme of he had this attire, then the inverted colors, then he had this attire, and he did the inverted colors here as well, where he had more red. And this one's elite style also, so kind of mostly would like to just have all elite with my collection, if possible, but if I just need a basic figure to cover like an attire or a time period of him, not a problem. But there wouldn't be any championship really with this one because he really only wore it kind of the one time. But I like it, so I wanted it in my little lineup. Then we have the return. He was injured, came back with his newer mask that showed more of his mouth. And here's one that's a highly decorated figure that he was Intercontinental Champion, was Tag Team Champion. Also, here's just a Jax one that I painted myself, and then this one as well, so I could have the WWF. He would have been champion with the Hurricane. I don't have a Hurricane from this time period, but I do kind of get like figures that are kind of like, Kane, this is your life, like that. They're just kind of accessories to this collection as well, that kind of the extra figures stand behind them just to show tag partners or maybe famous opponents. So for this attire, I do have a Rob Van Dam that I have with the Raw Tag Team Championships, because they held them together as well and defended them at a pre-show at a WrestleMania at least. But it's cool, just an extra excuse to get cooler figures and stuff to go with them, especially since this Kane can't really hold, you know, so many championships. He's already got one tag and an Intercontinental. But this one was like an exclusive. I always like this attire with the straps and everything. I would like them to do another one because this one is a removable mask, and it kind of is hard to keep on here because this hair kind of pushes the mask up. So it's hard to stay in place so that you can get the masked look, but it is removable. Because this is his attire that he did wear when he had to take off his mask finally. But I wouldn't mind one that's just molded together solid instead of this removable piece, because it does kind of sit weird on here. You don't have it all the way down. The hair can kind of get it pushed up and then he doesn't look right. It's like, I can't see. But I always like this mask. with the stitching and stuff, and then his attire and everything. He kind of acted a little more lively in this one as well when he came back. And pretty decorated, really. A lot of titles. So what we thought would be his last masked appearance, because then Kane didn't take too kindly to having his mask removed. This is a little less happy Kane. He was kind of extra dangerous here after losing his mask. He was attacking personnel and everything, so I had him chained up. I believe this figure came with like plastic cuffs and chains at one point, and I just was able to get these real chains somewhere just to make this look extra awesome. But it's the same attire, he just had to take his mask off. He would have the towel over his head, but he would have to take it off. Again, this came with like a plastic towel piece, but I liked my little towelly better. Just kind of this material, and then I kind of melted the edge a little bit, so it had these wrinkles. It just looked kind of cooler. You can kind of drape it over him. But you can see he has a very unhappy face, because this Kane didn't get to get a hold of too many championships in this form. He's mostly just destroying people to take out his frustrations, which was cool. I kind of took his unmasking pretty hard at the first week there, but after it became apparent he was going to be very dangerous, I was a little more okay with it. Because then, here's a happy Kane. He's so happy. Why are you happy, Kane? Oh, did you win the ECW Championship at WrestleMania? In a record-setting time? You beat him in one move? That's great, Kane. Here's an ECW title that I painted myself, kind of put it on a strap. Kind of painted like the WWE's version of ECW with all the orange. Kane finally snagged himself a big championship there. He had the stitching attire change from the tank top there. Yeah, here's where Kane, started having a longer career without the mask than with at some point here, so he was all over the place, and this would have been more like my figure at the time when I was really collecting these at first, because I just had modern figures. This is when Kane was already unmasked. And we continue happy Kane face, because yet another championship, won the Money in the Bank briefcase, cashed it in, won the World Heavyweight Championship. Again, a custom Jax one, but I did paint the back red because it used to have a red backing at the time he won this. A little different attire here, different design, and with the red and stuff, not just the stitching. So again, a different attire, and then just another excuse to have a champion Kane. I used to have the Money in the Bank case, but I think I gave it to my Daniel Bryan collection, which I'll have to show at some point now. Because he used the same SmackDown case to win the world title as well, just like Kane did. So World Champion Kane did win it again, actually, even after the Money in the Bank stuff. So this kind of represents this time period we actually did have this world title once in a while. And for slightly longer than, this Kane had his. So he was unmasked for a long time, then another hiatus, and he came back. Tank top is back on. Cartoony flame, and is this the Shockmaster? I'm going to tell my kids this was the Shockmaster. No, he didn't wrestle with this welder's mask on, but it was kind of like a resurrection Kane. He kind of had this Y seam from like when they dissect bodies and stuff, and he had the welder's mask that he rebuilt with the fire and everything. This was just like his entrance attire mask, and then he actually came back and had a mask to wrestle in, just kind of red and had this weird texture to it. And he immediately started killing John Cena, so I was real excited to have Kane back. Not one that he won a bunch of titles with or anything, but he had some cool feuds and just various things, though. 'Cause this was another cooler attire there. Didn't have this flame for very long, just kind of switched to just the stitching and stuff. But pretty cool, especially with the extra entrance mask he would use. And this one still came with the welder's mask, but I think he really kind of stopped using it. And then slightly different attire again, just with more basic stitching. But we got a newer tag team championship because he was tag champs with Daniel Bryan. It was a pretty awesome time there. My two favorite wrestlers basically were tag champs. So I like to represent since I collect both of their figures in kind of a career style, then, you have they were tag champions, so that's kind of their crossing point. A little bit different face than the other one here, because his mask changed a little bit, and then this one just has a different expression. At one point, his mask really started to chip toward the end of this weird run with this red mask. But I was happy to see him in a mask again, just because it had been so long since he wrestled in one. So, fun. And so then he kind of finished out his career mostly there with, he was just kind of the corporate Kane there. He was just with Triple H's little group and Seth Rollins and stuff like that. What was cool about this figure is actually just a basic figure release, but I guess they didn't have any other like pants, legs, so they had to use elite legs, so you were getting elite articulation in a basic figure, and I believe it's because this was from a Build-A-Figure, so that's why they have the right and left markings in here. So just kind of cool that it doesn't have the elite articulation up here, the straight, but then the knees and everything have elite articulation, so I just thought that was a cool bonus. I was like, haha, we got extra. And here, you know, his hair kind of growing back a little bit, and he did kind of do some on and off mask stuff yet, and I didn't ever get a hold of a figure of that exact time period where he was kind of flip-flopping between his mask and just this kind of basic look, but pretty much as far as I have right now. And I would like at one point to kind of do the kind of Mayor Kane attire with when he won the 24/7 championship, just to have more championships in the whole lineup. So I mean, there's still things I would get here to expand this collection, maybe even with duplicates and things just to show more championships. I also use this as an excuse to collect other figures there, like the Rob Van Dam, so I kind of can keep an Undertaker around, a little bit of a modern one. Didn't want to sell it away because I had this cool cloth jacket, kind of a custom, kind of a 2010-ish time period for Undertaker there. Again, I just kind of display this with these because I only collect certain time periods and things, and this is a bit outside of that, but since I'm doing such a far-reaching timeline, I kind of sneak an extra Undertaker figure into my stuff, and this even later version with the buzz cut after wrestling like Brock Lesnar and stuff with an urn. And he kind of teamed with Daniel Bryan, and then Undertaker was around that time. They had a little three-man tag for a little bit there that was really cool to me, that it was kind of Undertaker and Kane, but then also Daniel Bryan included. This is a big deal for me, so pretty awesome. I opened all my other wrestling figures here. You can check out the playlist. Definitely hit like if you like seeing this whole collection, if it gave you any ideas for collecting, or if you just like seeing them. So you want to get subscribed to see what other wrestling figures and all the other collectible stuff I show here, just for fun. So either way, I'll see you in the next video. And if I could make the turnbuckles shoot fire right now, I would, but that would be dangerous and can't do it. Sorry.